Hello everyone out there in Booktube land. My name is Nathan and this is the Bookish Gnome channel, and this is my first ever video. And I thought that I would start with a book tag, that being the newbie book tag, so that I can put myself out there. In researching this and figuring out all the things that I wanted to do for the book tag, I happened upon Dominish Reads, and he had a un-newbie book tag that I actually enjoyed. He came up with some new questions for himself. He was able to smush that together with the actual newbie book tag. So I'm kind of just taking his and the actual newbie booktube tag and putting them together and see what we get. And the first question that I'm going to answer is, who am I? Like I already said, my name is Nathan. I live near Sacramento, California, with my wife. We just have a nice little apartment here. It's wonderful. And I grew up in Ohio. We'll get into it later, but that's probably why I love reading. I grew up in a small town. I am now 40, just getting into this booktube thing. So the second question, why did you start the channel? Well, I love books. I read all the time now. I did actually take a large break from reading books for probably over a decade. And so getting back into it, I started to think, are there people out there that want to talk about books as much as I do? Because every time I read a book and I get done with it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was a great book. I need to talk to somebody about it. And nobody that I know has read that book, and nobody wants to nerd out with me. So I started looking for reviews and things like that online. And I noticed that there was this community, this booktube community. I just loved watching other people review the books that I love and what their thoughts were on them. Hopefully someday I'll be able to have people watch my videos and have discourse with them about, what they felt about the same books that I love. Maybe not even the books that I love, maybe just books that I reviewed and had thoughts about. So I also started this channel because I wanted to challenge myself. I've been doing the same job for like the last 15 years. I've been doing a lot of the same things over and over again. And once I saw that there were people out there who were sharing their thoughts about books online, and there were actual people that wanted to hear about it, I thought, that seems like a fun thing to do. I want to challenge myself to actually put myself out there. This is something new and different that I've never even thought about doing before. And it is challenging. Question number 3, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Obviously, my excitement for books, obviously there's other people out there with their excitement for the books, but each of us has their own view, thoughts, and processes, and I can't wait to share mine. Another fun and unique thing would be that I haven't read a lot in like the last decade. And just back in February, I started reading a lot. It's almost like being a fresh new reader again and having new and exciting thoughts on these things. And my cat is playing with a Nerf dart in the background. So if you hear any rustling, that's what it is. So it's just, I'm coming at this fresh again, and there's going to be books that I read, a long time ago that I love that I'm going to want to read again and have a new understanding of them and things like that. Another thing that I could bring that's unique is my older outlook. It's been a while since I've read. I am getting up there in the years. There are a lot of young booktubers out there, and they are doing awesome things, and I love to watch what they have to say. Maybe I have like simply just a different viewpoint because of where I'm at in my life. And maybe I could have some guest appearances like my pets in my videos. Question number 4. What am I most excited about for this new channel? Like I said, I've been doing the same thing for 15 years for my job, and it's just going to be something new and fun for me to get into, to be able to talk about something that I love and am passionate about. I also think that another thing that could be fun for me is gaining this experience in my life. And this will hopefully give me confidence to do other things that I've always wanted to do as I learn to put myself out there and take this risk, because that's what it is for me. It feels like that I'll be able to take more risks with other things in my life. I mean, I've already actually done this video once, started editing it and thought, this is terrible. And that's just my ability. I need that ability of getting my confidence over that hump to actually put this out there and you know, let myself maybe accomplish something for once. Another huge thing that I really am excited for is the interaction within the community itself. And hopefully people will want to talk with me about the same books that I'm reading and enjoying, maybe even the books that I'm not, just to see what you guys' opinions and thoughts are on them. Another thing that I want to be excited for is that, you know, maybe I can bring some new and fresh ideas to like different videos for Booktube. There's a lot of, you know, book hauls and reviews, which I'm definitely going to do, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I want to come up with new stuff. I watch other content creators and they're always coming up with absolutely new and fun things to do when it comes and relates to books. I hope that, you know, I can think of some things that are new and exciting. Question number 5. When did you start reading? And I know I started very young. I don't know exactly when it was. Like my sharpest memory of when I started reading was when I was probably around like 8 years old. And I know it started before that, but these were my sharpest memories of when I started reading. My mother, since I grew up in Ohio, near the Indiana border, we were close to a city called Fort Wayne, and that's Fort Wayne, Indiana. And my mother would go there, and she would take me, and she would do genealogy, because they have a huge library for genealogy. And she would go do that, and I would literally just sit down with books, read for a couple of hours while she did that. My first memories are of reading Arthurian fantasy, even though, you know, I'm not talking like crazy books like Bernard Cromwell. I wasn't, you know, I was 8. But, you know, I read those little picture books of King Arthur and his knights. St. Peter and the Dragon, I believe, was a book that I read. I could be totally wrong. So that is definitely my earliest true memories of reading. I know that I was reading before then, but I loved those days. Question number 6, what kind of books do you like to read? And then, like Dominish, he also put in there, and what do you not like to read? Obviously, love fantasy, and I like sci-fi, a little bit of horror, a little bit of thriller. I can read those. I actually do really love adventure books. And when I say adventure books, because I'm not exactly sure what this falls into, but I like books that kind of deal with things like Indiana Jones type things, or if you've ever played the Uncharted series, that's like my favorite series of video games of all time. I like reading about that kind of stuff. You know, people going on adventure to go into, you know, ancient lost civilizations to find artifacts. If there's fantasy involved in that too, which there kind of was in the Uncharted series sometimes. Like, there were some things that were definitely a little, out there, especially towards the ends of the games. And I thought that was an awesome mix. Things like just worked out that way in the game. Books that I don't like to read, pretty much anything nonfiction for the most part. School books, things like that. School wasn't for me. Yeah, I'm going back to school now, but keep nonfiction to the school and let me have my fiction so that I can, escape into it. Question number 7. Why do you love reading and where do you do it? So, why do I love reading? I love being transported into the pages. I love living in their worlds, especially in fantasy and sci-fi, where I'm being transported to a different place, whether it be a whole new world or in space, even in ancient civilizations in our own world. I just love being somewhere else. And I think that comes from growing up in a smaller town. And where do I like to read? Well, pretty much anywhere, but I read in my bed before I go to sleep. I read on my couch. I read in this chair that I'm in right now, which is usually turned the other way, but for the purposes of this video, obviously I turned it around so you guys could see my books. I also listen a lot to audiobooks, especially now that where I work is about 40 minutes away. So I get to listen to it there and on the way back. So that's where I read and why I love to read. Question number 8, what book or series got you into reading? So obviously I told you guys about the Arthur books, King Arthur and his Knights, when I was very young. And then when I was in middle school, I got into these books by Matt Christopher that were all about sports. It was very simplistic titles. I don't really remember what they were, but they'd be like something like Rusty Gets the Bucket. I would read those. They were really fast, and I don't know why I like them so much. I mean, I've always done sports I'd always done sports when I was a kid, and I could relate to it, so I really enjoyed those. But then I would say when I got into high school, the series that truly got me into reading would have to be The Wheel of Time. I would slip out of class a little early or whatever, and I'd go to the library. I'd sneak off, and I found The Eye of the World, and I started to read that. I just found it to be amazing, and I absolutely loved it. And like I already said, that was a long time ago because of my age. So, over 20 years ago is when I started to read those, and I didn't get to finish them until they were finished. And so it was just a journey through, probably like a decade or more of my life. And that was an absolute pleasure to read those. And they got me like super into reading, and definitely is what kicked me into reading fantasy. This is question number 9. Who are my favorite authors? And I have a list here, so I'm just going to look down because I don't feel like having to bring them up out of my brain. But Robert Jordan, obviously, Wheel of Time. Scott Lynch, I love the Locke Lamora series. Jim Butcher, I love the Dresden Files. I've also read the Codex Alera, which I really like. Pierce Brown, I loved Red Rising and that whole series. I haven't actually gone past the first 3 books. I'd like to do that. Alexander Dumas, or Dumas, I don't know exactly how you say it, but love The Count of Monte Cristo. I'd love to read more from him. Susanna Clarke, I absolutely adore. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Brandon Sanderson, love his stories. I started with Mistborn, so I kind of have a special place in my heart for that. B.E. Schwab, a smattering of young adult. I forgot about that. I actually do like young adult books. They are fun. So, question number 10. Who are authors I want to try or read more from? I kind of talked about that a little bit in the last question. I've read just a teeny bit of Terry Pratchett. I would love to read a little bit more. Not a little bit more. I want to read a lot more of his because I remember back in the day when I was reading them, I just thought they were hilarious and fun, and I loved them. Neil Gaiman, I would like to read more of. I read American Gods once. I'd like to read it again, and some others of his. I'd like to read classic fantasy some more. I remember reading the first Barsoom book, Princess of Mars, by Edgar Rice Burroughs. I would love to read the rest of those because I really enjoyed that. That was a long time ago. I'd like to read Jules Verne, maybe some other ones. I know that I have watched Murphy Napier talk about Dorian Gray, and I actually bought it, so I'm going to read that. I'd like to read John Gwynne. I have bought one of his books, and I will be getting on that soon. I've read the Farseer trilogy through Robin Hobb, and I'd like to read. I didn't realize she had so many more books until I started watching Booktube, and I want to read all those. And I'd like to reread the Farseer trilogy because I remember enjoying it a lot. N.K. Jemisin. There are a lot more books on my shelves that I would like to start reading. Question number 11. What sort of content can you expect from me? Well, I really want to do a lot of reviews, just because, like I've said, I came to Booktube because of reviews, because people were reading things that I was reading, and I liked hearing about what they had to say about it. I'll probably do a bunch of Booktube tags, especially starting out, because I feel like those are there to help us as content creators make content. And I like to do maybe some vlog videos of me reading certain books. We'll see where that goes. I'll do the occasional book haul, perhaps. I do like buying books. I've done a lot of that right before I started making this video because I wanted to have fairly full shelves. Another possible thing of content would be for me to talk about movies and other media, video games, things like that, you know, I enjoy. I do play a lot of video games, probably too many. Watch a lot of movies, watch a lot of television. I'll probably have to tamper that down a little bit as I try to do more content for this. Question number 12. What challenges do you think starting a Booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Confidence. Number one, confidence. Like I said, I've already done this video once, and I looked at it for like 3 seconds while I was trying to edit it, and I thought, I didn't do this right, and I need to do this again. And I went back and I watched more videos of other YouTubers doing their thing, and I thought, I don't even have the camera where it should be. So, you know, hopefully this version of this video is the one I put out. The other big challenge that I think that I'll have on this channel is the technical side of it, the editing, perhaps maybe getting a better camera and things like that, just eventually. I've never done anything like that before, using programs that I've never used before, and hopefully this won't come out as a mess. Question number 13. What questions would you ask your favorite Booktubers? Some of these will be obviously names that you've heard of before, and I'm hoping that some of them aren't, and if you watch this video and see some of these names, you know, go check them out because they're awesome. The first one, Pax Projects. She doesn't even read fantasy and sci-fi for the most part. She does say she would, and she likes it, you know, but she reads horror, a lot of horror books, and I just enjoy watching her because she has like the super good energy. Like, it's almost like you want to read horror because of what she's saying. She's got so much like good energy for it. The question, I guess, is where do you get your confidence and energy? I'm just starting out, and you haven't been doing it for very long, and it's amazing like how you've just like gone for it. Another person I watch a lot is Mike's Reviews. We have a lot of the same tastes, I think. I would ask him, you know, do you get nervous when interviewing authors? It's just awesome that you even have the opportunity to do that. I know that I would, leading up to that, at least just be so nervous. I watched a lot of Daniel Green. I think he's just fun to watch. I would ask him, how do you deal with the pressure to keep your channel thriving? I mean, you have so many subscribers and you put out good content after good content, and it's just awesome to watch you. And then on top of that, you're writing books, which I do actually own. I watch a lot of Murphy Napier. I just have to ask, how are you so creative? You have such an original playlist. There are tons of different groups of playlists that you have that I just think are awesome. And it seems like you come out with original stuff before, and then I see other people kind of emulate you, and that's very cool. And I hope to eventually be able to put out some original content myself that maybe other people will take and run with. I watch Elliot Brooks, and I just watched one of her videos where she was talking about, I think it was the one where it was the old tag, and she was talking about how she wished there was more reviews out there, but she knows that there aren't, you don't get as many views for those. But I'm here to tell you, I'm gonna put out a lot of reviews, and I hope I do. And that wasn't really a question. That was more of a, I'm gonna do that. And I watch Treebeard reviews. He's kind of a newer one too. My question for him is, did you have a background in speaking? For not doing Booktube for so long, it seems like you're very smooth already, very articulate. Doesn't look like you edit it very much. Like you're just talking, and it's great. So I just wonder if you have like a background in doing things like that before you've started your channel, because you're doing great. And Dominish Books, who I've talked about through this whole video, I just really like his videos. He has, all these people have, tastes in books that are like mine, but I really like his taste in books. And I just wanted to ask him, like, where does he find his under the radar books? Like, where does he look to get those? I'm sure that because he has some followers, he's able to, grab from them. Maybe, he goes on different sites. I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I'd like to know where you find those under the radar books, because, when I start doing my reviews, I'd like to do books that not only are very popular, because we all obviously are reading those, that's why they're popular, but I'd also like to read new books that maybe aren't getting as much appreciation as others. That's really it. There's your newbie book tag video, and I'm just looking forward to starting this channel up and having fun reviewing books and sharing my love for these stories that I lose myself in, daily. I can't wait for that. And I hope you guys have a great day.